Today, we are going to be talking about pros and cons of owning a CF Moto motorcycle. Between affordability all the way to resale value, you are in the market for a CF Moto 675 SS or a CF Moto 450 SS or any of their naked bikes or their MT bikes, and this is going to be the video for you. This isn't going to be covering any specific bike, as I have a specific video covering the 675 SS all over my channel. If you want to dive into those, feel free. I also have one on the 450 SS, but this one is going to be more general. Maybe you're curious about CF Moto and you want to learn more. Maybe you're very skeptical and you just want to see what I'm going to say about it and just bash in the comments anyways. Either way, let's jump straight into it. So the first con I can think of owning a CF Moto motorcycle is probably the most obvious one, which is the stigma. And if you already own a CF Moto motorcycle, then you totally understand what I'm talking about. Facing stigma. So this is all between, hey, you own a piece of Chinese garbage. Oh, have you heard about the RideSync app? The RideSync app is a scam. It's trying to take your money. It's slippery slope. Or the occasional, why didn't you get a blank? Why, fill in the blank there. Why didn't you get a ZX6R? Why didn't you get this? Why didn't you get that? Why do you stick with CF Moto? There's just a lot of stigma behind CF Moto, and it's a very general con, but it's true anywhere you go. Anyone always asks you, hey, what kind of bike is that? I've never heard of that bike before. And though the responses are very positive, not all of them can be. You get some negative ones. There's some people that at the bike meets will look at it and then you can kind of hear it. They don't know it's your bike and they go, well, what is this? It's, I don't know why this guy would get this bike. I've heard about this company. They're also just take your money. They're stealing people's ideas, blah, 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 blah. This company is stealing ideas from Kawasaki. Company's stealing from this. There's a lot of stigma that you are going to face when you own a CF Moto, any motorcycle, or even their ATVs or any of their lineups. You will face the stigma, and unfortunately it's just something that you kind of have to turn your cheek and just keep moving, because most of the time all the opinions are just from a quick search on the internet. It's nothing that's really dove into, or it's, hey, I heard from a friend of a friend of a friend that this bike is horrible, and it's nothing that I would really take to heart. It's just something that you definitely face out there. Moving on to the pros, we have affordabilities. Although CF Moto is a very cheap bike, quality is very great, and you can hear me talk on my channel over and over again. I just pretty much never stop yapping about it, is that the quality of these bikes versus the cost of these bikes is crazy. Not only is it great to have these bikes with some good quality, but it also brings a lot of competition to the motorcycle market. When you have, there's a brand that's putting out a little bit more advanced tech and a little bit more stylish looking bikes, and it's a cheaper price, people are starting to look into it more, and it's going to drive away your customers. You start to say, okay, well, what do we need to change? What do we need to improve? And if anything, that's very healthy for the market, not just for a CF Moto owner, but for anybody that wants a motorcycle, or especially into sport bikes. If you're talking about sport bikes or they're naked bikes, it's nice that they're coming out with these bikes, and the fact that they are affordable is a huge selling point in a lot of these bikes. I just went over a video talking about their new 4-cylinder bike that's coming out, and for the power, for what the price could be, there's a lot of different guesses I've seen. If the CF Moto 1000 SR-RR ends up being really cheap, or relatively cheap, especially compared to other leader bikes, then this is going to be a really big selling point for a lot of people. Why would I go spend this amount of money on a R1 or a ZX10 when I can just get this bike that's a lot cheaper? And especially, with their track record, they're just not a company releasing a 4-cylinder bike. They're a company that's continually released parallel twin engines and triples. Between all of these engines that they're creating, I think it's safe to say that the reliability is definitely going to go up, which is something I'll definitely touch on in a future point here. So another con I have here is dealer accessibility. So this one's very short and sweet to the point. Dealer accessibility. It's very hard to run into an actual CF Moto dealer. Like, yes, there are dealers out there that support CF Moto products, and it's not just a CF Moto dealer, but they support them. But it's hard to run into ones that either sell the bikes you're looking for, because I know when the CF Moto, at least here in the States, the CF Moto 675 SS was kind of a tough one to find, or you had to wait quite a bit to get it. So the dealer accessibility there is, hey, I really want this bike, and I know it's cheap and affordable. I'm going to get past the stigma, but I can't find it anywhere, or I have to wait months and months and months to get the bike. That's just a quick one I wanted to talk about, is the dealer accessibility. Well, first of all, any actual CF Moto dealer, but just in general is finding them anywhere, really. But they are growing, I will say, and they are definitely expanding more, and that's going to be changing, especially within the next few years. Another pro we have here is their modernized technology. So obviously a lot of bikes have TFT screens now. What I like about CF Moto is the cheapness of the bike coming with the actual different traction control levels. You're able to connect your bike to the phone. You do have the Ride Sync app. Whether or not you pay for it, there are still some things that you can use on there without having to pay for the subscription, which is really cool. The fact they have brake cooling on there, nice little technology there. Even though it's just a duct, it still is brake cooling, and it's still something that they considered. And I know in some countries where you have the Ride Sync app and you are paying a subscription, they do offer some power modes. Rumor is that their 4-cylinder bike they're coming out with, not the 750, but the 1000, is going to have different ride modes, which would make sense, which is going to be really cool. And then the fact that this bike does come with a quick shifter at the price point as well. A lot of the technology that CF Moto has is more modernized, and a lot of the bike, even the styling, is a little bit more modernized. It has a much more cleaner, futuristic look to it, as opposed to some of the other brands which are trying to catch up, or they're getting there. Not to say that all the other brands are bad. It's just CF Moto, that's one of the pros, is that their bikes do look very modern. They look very futuristic. Another con we have here would be in terms of accessibility, would be their tune and aftermarket accessibility. It's a very difficult area to get into, especially if you have a sport bike like the 450 or the 675 or even the 300. Obviously, the older models are a little easier to get the aftermarket and different exhausts and different tunes. 675, when I tuned mine, I only had one place that was doing it. I will show them on screen now. I sent my ECU in, they did it, and I sent it back. And it was pretty much like the only tune shop besides another one that was doing it. And I can't remember the name of the other one, but these were very limited. The point of this is that their tune was very limited. Like a lot of places you can go over there, you don't even have to send it in. You can just ride there because they're all pretty much close nearby. Like a local motorsport shop would probably have one, but with CF Moto, not so much. There's not many places that supported it yet. And this is considering the fact I did have the 675 SS. It is a newer bike, so it is tougher to get to, but power sport companies and these different shops don't have a nice aftermarket or tune support is another con to think of. That if you want to get any of these bikes and jump straight into tuning or anything like that, it might be a wait. It might be something you have to drive a little bit further out, or you might have to be something you have to send something in. Either way, it is definitely a con, and I can speak from experience with both my 450 and my 675. Both of these bikes, a lot of my parts and different customized things that I've done is off of AliExpress, because that is the only resource I really had to actually get different things, like a different seat or a different windscreen. I'd have to dive into AliExpress, and AliExpress is more of a Chinese store. It's everything in there really comes from China. It's not the most easy place to go on. I've definitely ordered things from them and gotten the wrong things. For example, I tried to order a windscreen for my 675 and I got a handful of bolts. They just sent a little baggie full of bolts, and I went to ask them about it. They said, hey, sorry, we sent the wrong part number. And I was like, this isn't even close or reminiscent of a windscreen. So I just took the refund and then just stuck with it anyways. Again, if you're looking for some quick accessibility toward modification here, yes, there are some cheaper parts on AliExpress, but again, they are cheaper for a reason.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
And you will be waiting a bit. And if you are in the States, and with the current condition of the market or just the world in general now, is getting things from China over to the United States can be a little bit more expensive. So it's something to consider as well. So another pro I want to talk about is the growing community that we have within the CF Moto arena. So a lot of Kawasaki, a lot of Yamaha, a lot of the main big brands, Ducati, all that already have a really good base established. More so for the United States is there's not a lot yet within CF Moto arena. So when I see someone with another CF Moto, it's kind of like a needle in a haystack. You find it and you're like, oh my gosh, there it is. That question about their bike, what have they done differently? And it's very refreshing to see. Now I see a bunch of ZX6Rs, I see a bunch of R6s, I see a bunch of different bikes, Ninja 500s, all the big brands. You see all of them all the time. That when you do run into a CF Moto bike, it's very rare, but it's very refreshing, and it's definitely growing, because when I had my 450 and I took it to a few bike meets, there wasn't many CF Moto bikes there. I was really the only one besides maybe another 450. But when I brought my 675 SS to the same bike meets that I used to go to, I've noticed that more people have the 675s, more people have the 450s, and it's growing. And it's something that I'm happy with it, because although CF Moto is facing stigma, a lot of people are warming up to them, and I think that's great that they should warm up to them. Again, CF Moto is not a perfect company, and they have their flaws just like any other motorcycle company, but that should not be something that should deter you from the motorcycle itself. They have awesome motorcycles, and the fact that people keep buying them and the community is growing should be a showcase of, hey, this company is doing the right thing, and they're providing what the customer base wants. Because I'm not just a brand new CF Moto owner. I've owned a 450, if you haven't heard that a million times in this video already. So when I was looking at the 675, it was coming off the foundation of I've had the 450, it was a great bike, and I want to upgrade. Where do I go? And a lot of the community too is very welcoming, is very supportive of other brands. Know when you own a CF Moto and people own a Kawasaki or whatever, very that stigma of like, oh, it's a cheap bike, this, and that, like it's cheap Chinese trash, you wouldn't get that, all that. But when you come from a CF Moto and you're looking at other bike brands, it's very like, yeah, that Honda is a really nice bike. The CBRs are really nice bikes. The ZX6Rs are awesome bikes from Kawasaki. Like R6 is an awesome bike. We don't have to feel the need to kind of crap on other people's bikes because we know what it's like. So the community is very welcoming, and especially if you do get a CF Moto, it's very nice to have all that background. And I will say a lot of the community is overseas. But it's also been a great avenue for me to meet different people. It's also been a good avenue for me to have some of you guys in my comments that have a CF Moto and you guys are in Germany, or you guys are over in Japan, or you guys are over in China, or you guys are over somewhere else across the seas, wherever, Australia. You guys have access to these bikes too. And it's been nothing but support from you guys. You guys have had the CF Moto bikes a lot longer than us here in the States. And any questions I have, things I might say wrong, you guys know how to be like, hey, you said this here, but this is what this actually is. And it's not, hey, you're an idiot, this is wrong. It's, hey, you're learning about CF Moto just as much as we are, and you own the bike, and we're supporting the CF Moto in this, so we should support each other. And to me, that speaks a lot within the community of having each other's back and all that. So with all that cliche stuff out of the way, we're going to talk about our last con here, which would be the resale value. So the resale value of a CF Moto is notoriously cheaper. I know that Kawasaki has a good resale value, and this is all in terms of motorcycles, so it's very relative. The nice resale value of a ZX6R, depending on how many miles you put on, you can sell for maybe about $500, $1,000 less than what you got it for. That's a good resale value. You can definitely resell that. CF Moto is a bigger dip. It's usually about half of that. It's usually about 50%. Now, it depends on if you're going private or if you're going through a dealer. Those are things to consider as well, but it's something to consider. If you are going to buy this bike and you want to trade it in quickly and get something different right after, maybe it's not the bike for you because the resale value really isn't there. And I don't think anyone here is really to blame. Obviously, this is something that CF Moto should be keeping their eyes on, and I'm sure that they are. As CF Moto grows as a brand and more people start to ride these bikes, that the resale value will jump back up to more of like the notorious brands like Kawasaki, Yamaha, you name it. So again, just something to consider. Don't expect a quick buck to turn around if you're just trying to flip these bikes. The last thing I want to talk about is, and this is something I'm coming from experience, and this can also be weighed in as a pro and a con. I want to kind of throw that out there. So one of the pros is it is a cheaper bike, which means that it is cheaper to spend money when you want to work on it. You're going to save a little bit more money when you're working on it. It's cheaper oil, cheaper filters, this and that. Obviously, you can spoil yourself and get some Motul or some Liquid Moly or any of the higher end brands. You can do that, but it is cheaper to work on if you're trying to budget yourself. This is something that you could easily work on and not have to spend a bunch of money. But where I see the con is there's a video of me trying to get to this air filter on the 675 SS. Just be easy with it. Don't like yank this. I see a lot of people yank them, yank them, yank them, yank, 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 yank them, yank, yank, yank them, yank, yank, yank them, yank. And I have to take apart almost like all the side fairings and the gas tank and everything just to get to the air filter. When most bikes, you can just pop the seat and you can usually kind of access the tank, and it's on a hinge and it's not something you have to pop off, and you can just access the filter that way. The ability to get to different parts on this bike can be a pain in the butt. This is something that I think CF Moto should definitely take note of, but this is definitely a pro and a con, more so a pro because yes, we want to do fun stuff to our bike, but we also don't want to break the bank, which is nice because that's exactly what CF Moto does. With all that being said, these are the pros and cons I wanted to cover. I know this is a little bit shorter of a video, but it is something that I wanted to throw out there because I see a lot of comments asking different questions, and hopefully this kind of answers some of those for you guys. So with all that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like. If you didn't like this video and you're a Harley guy, or you are a squiddy boy on a ZX6R and you just want to bag on how cheap CF Moto is, feel free to leave a dislike and a comment. I usually get back to those comments too. And speaking of comments, if you liked it or disliked it, feel free to drop a comment down below what you think, or if you own your own CF Moto motorcycle, what are some pros that I didn't cover and what are some cons that I didn't cover that you want to talk about or you think people should know. So again, this is a community thing, and I want to make sure that we keep each other in the same loop and we are transparent with each other in terms of the pros and cons of CF Moto. And it's not to be biased, it's just to be transparent. If you want to see more of these videos or you're interested in more of my content, feel free to hit that subscribe button and check out my channel for more videos. I have plenty, and I upload at least once to twice a week. And with all that being said, I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.